Hey, welcome to Between the Ears Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Curtis Pelletier, mental performance coach. Here we're bringing on coaches, players, scouts, baseball people to talk baseball. Their views and experience in recruiting, player development, and mental performance. If you're playing pro ball, college, high school, or just a parent trying to manage the matrix of travel ball, this podcast is for you. Here we go. Hey, episode 14, Corey Eckstein. Corey is the president of OBJ, Ontario Blue Jays, a powerhouse out east. Corey, I got to know Corey. He's a BC boy. Corey's a straight shooter, man. I mean, I love it. I love talking to Corey about anything baseball, anything, actually. We have some pretty good calf comparisons sometimes, but I think I take the cake. And I hope you're listening to this, Corey. Corey was a big part of the Canadian national team as a coach as well as a player. Corey spent a lot of years in British Columbia coaching Abbotsford Cardinals, Yale Academy. I know he was part of the Cascades collegiate program a little bit as well. And Corey played some ball. Corey played at Vernon Community College in Texas. So here is my guy Corey, telling it like it is.
Looks like you got a handful of guys, though. It's been taking off for you by the looks of it.
You know what? It's just, it gets okay listens right now, but it's just been fun, dude.
Yeah.
It's just been fun chatting to dudes, and everybody's been super cool about, like, hey, you want to come on? Everyone's like, yeah, sure, great. But it's built for, the reason I did it was for, like, high school kids. Because, you know, I mean, you know how it is here in BC. Right.
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot of these lately, that's for sure.
Well, I mean, it's like I'll tell kids, they'll be like, okay, they'll come to me, they'll be like, okay, how do I do this? How do I get here? I'm like, okay, well, here's the steps. I've been there. I know a lot of people. I help people get there. And then they go, oh, okay, cool. Well, go fuck yourself. I'm going to try it my own way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, cool, awesome. So basically my thought process was, I'm just going to get people on to reconfirm things that I'm already saying. Sure. And give their experience and go, okay, well, here's my advice on this as well. Here's another way maybe Curtis is an idiot and doesn't actually know. You know, sure. Like, so it's been super helpful, you know, getting people on. And, you know, you're out east, so it's, I don't know, is it the same or different out there as BC?
It's much different. It's different.
In what way?
And it took me a couple of years to truly realize this, but like, the kids out west compared to the kids out east, like from a visibility standpoint, really lacking out west, in all honesty. Like, truly respect how the league operates and what they have in terms of, you know, on-field time, because out east we don't have it. It's very much more business orientated because we have the 50,000 square foot facilities that we got to pay for, right? But from a being on-field standpoint out east, that's where we're lacking, right? But, you know, for speaking on behalf of the Ontario Blue Jays, like, going through it for the past 4 years and doing that summer circuit on the East Coast where you're playing in front of, you know, 150 schools on a regular basis with every tournament that we go to, like, that's just not common back out west, right? Like, you can go to the Pacific Northwest and play in those little championship tournaments, but it's not the same, right? So
no, you're getting seen by NWAC schools. You know, that's where you're going to end up, which is fine, which is super cool. That's a path, but I can see what you guys are doing. It's legit, but
don't get me wrong though, Kurt. Like, as some of our guys too, like there's it's like D1 or bust mentality out here, out east, and I don't know where that comes from, where that entitlement comes from, because quite frankly, I mean, you know, the college landscape right now, it's a different world, right? So
good luck,
good luck is right. But
well, and D1 or bust to me is kind of bogus too, because I hear you see kids signing a D1 in Buffalo compared to going to a good JUCO in Arizona. It's like. Sure. You know, it's all social currency in my eyes. A lot of it, you know, the parents want it more than the kids. They want, my kid plays it at D1. It's like, you know,
they're chasing that college commitment post. You know what I mean?
100%.
So, yeah.
So, I was looking online. You're the president. Am I talking to Mr. President?
I don't like that. I don't like that. That's not
what does that mean though? Why, you know, so when you took the job out there, what job did you take? Because what you're 4 years in now?
Yeah, 4.5. It's I came to do baseball, and it's turned into something completely different. Like, I didn't realize how big of an operation the Ontario Blue Jays are, quite frankly, right?
How big? Tell me about it. How big is it?
Yeah, about 135 players in the program.
Yeah.
We're 13U to 18U next year. Just the day-to-day stuff. Like, our facility, we just moved, and it's been new ownership, new building, transition from me going from player personnel to president, kind of overseeing not just the baseball piece, but the day-to-day operation piece, right? Like, we had a chiro, physio clinic, all that stuff in our old building that I had to oversee as well. So just, it was, I've learned a lot though. Like, I've grown a lot as a person.
Have your calves grown?
My calves have grown a little bit, yes.
No way.
I had to get to the gym this morning though, so I got to go after this call. But
right, totally.
It's been good. I've struggled in certain areas. Just sometimes I feel like I'm not a baseball coach anymore.
Yeah,
that's the struggle. You had 3 kids and a wife, and the travel component. I live about 45 minutes away from the facility, right? So just
where's the facility?
We're in Mississauga. Yeah.
Okay.
Mississauga.
Where do you live?
I'm out in Ancaster, so just past Hamilton. So yeah, on a good day, it's about 40 minutes to and from.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, it's I know that feeling, dude. You don't feel like you're. I mean, I see you on field a little bit, which is probably.
I mean, I'm coaching the 17U team this year. It's just I don't. I wish there's days where you're in the office for 7-8 hours and you got to go to practice, and it's like, okay, you got to figure this shit out and make sure you have the energy to give to those kids, right?
It's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, I was a GM of the West Coast League team out here, and you think, oh, cool, I get to be like Billy Bean and do all this cool shit. It's like not even close, man. You're talking about food and beverage. We're talking about dealing with people who just have this as a job and they don't actually care, and it takes a lot, especially with kids. I have 3 kids as well. I have 2.5-year-old twins right now, which you can imagine is bananas. So, but when they were born, I was a GM, and it's hard. It's not a lifestyle conducive. I mean, I think your wife is on board, obviously.
Yeah.
She's a baseball wife, right? She's ride or die with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, travel has always been a part of my life, and thankfully she gets it. And there's times where she's like, "You got to get the hell out of the house," because she knows when I'm around here too often and I'm not doing what I love to do. That I just,
You got the boys, so you got a couple boys.
Yeah, 10, 8, and then my daughter who's 6.
Daddy's girl.
My oldest is daddy's girl. Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, both playing ball, and not sure what the middle child's going to do yet.
How is it with you and their ball? Like, I don't have a son. I got 3 daughters, so my wife is like, when we take our girls to the park, I'll see a boy playing with his dad. My wife will have to pull me back. I'll be like, "Hey guys, can I come play?"
No, I try really hard to. I've told everybody I want my kids to be coached by other people. That's important to me. But at the same time, I know my oldest, especially, like, he enjoys his daddy time, and let's go hit BP and let's do those type of things, right? So, but yeah, I've scaled back. I've kind of got thrown into it a little bit, helping out with his little 10U team there from time to time. But I really enjoy just being behind the fence and just having a coffee.
Totally. Have a coffee, watch, take him for ice cream after, be a dad. Did you have fun? Cool. It's massive.
With I can see the pressure though. Like, he's starting to figure it out though a little bit, right? So I gotta.
With that being said, with parents and all that, obviously you deal with parents. Do you deal with parents?
Oh God, like in terms of the OBJ side?
Yeah.
Yes, I for sure I do. It's part of the job. I mean, they are a paying customer at the end of the day, so I think that is important. But there also has to be some separation. Which
what is that? Like? Do you guys have you created a protocol or anything like that with that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll always have exit interviews with players and things like that. I probably spend more time with parents during the recruiting process, like the past couple months going into fall, where we're trying to build out our rosters for the following year. That's when I spend a lot of time with families, just kind of educating them on our program. Okay. We'll do an OBJ information night in the fall where we kind of walk through everything with incoming families. So there's no question marks really, but I mean, they have access to me as needed within reason, obviously. But depending on what the questions are, right? If it pertains to, playing time and things like that, then, it's player to coach. And then if we have to get those parents involved at some point in time, or upper management can step in and deal with those issues as they arise. So.
Are players and families, I guess more players, are they given an expectation? Like, are they given, like, hey, here's your role. Here's what you're going to be doing. Is it consistent across the board? Is everybody getting, like, I remember when I was coaching, helping doing things, and it was easy. Like, I could go, okay, oh, my kid's not playing a lot. It's like, actually, well, no, here's a spreadsheet that says they are. Is that something you guys?
I would say to that point, I mean, we can always go back to game changer, obviously, and here's your stats, here's what you're doing. But I think there's a little bit more to it than just that in terms of, the work that you're putting in behind the scenes that, parents don't always see at practice, right? Like, it's one thing for little Johnny to show up and have a good game, but, is he being a piece of shit at practice prior to that time? Like there's different things that go into it, right? So, and I kind of leave that up to our head coaches and their discretion in terms of how they want to manage that. I'm not going to micromanage those guys at all, and they're going to have to ultimately talk to those parents if there is issues that do arise, right? So
little Johnny is always getting thrown under the bus, eh? Fuck, dude.
I thank God my kid's not named Johnny. No,
I know. I'm always little Johnny. Like, fucking little Johnny is just a trouble in the clubhouse.
He is.
What it's obviously, with social media and stuff. I don't know. With development wise, you have 13U. Is that where you guys start?
13. Yeah, we're actually just starting 13 next year. It was 14U, but yeah, it's good.
Okay. Well, here's a good, like, here I see, you see Tim Smith doing his thing. You see all the boys doing their thing on social media, development wise. What's the first thing you guys are working on with the players now? 13U, you get them in. Obviously, you want to have an organizational development plan, kind of put guys through different motions at different ages, make sure they're checking boxes. Where are you guys starting now?
It's funny you say that because we had this talk going to 13U. It's like, what type of player do we want in our program? Because I've seen 13 and 14U teams where they're big and physical, but not athletic, and they plateau and they don't pan out down the road. So we as an organization said, like, we're okay going undersized, but there's got to be some twitch. There's got to be some athleticism, good foundation, and then kind of, build from there, right? When every player comes to our organization, our strength coordinator will put them through their assessments, their mobility stuff. We'll put them in buckets with their deficiencies and kind of branch out from there, right? So, for us, we spend a lot of time in the weight room. Like, that's a really, really big piece to our puzzle. And I think it shows with the type of players that we put on field. And, with college baseball too right now, I mean, you look at the average size of a Division I player, it's 6'2", 205, 210, right? So I would say the weight room, first and foremost for us is our biggest piece. But yeah, I mean, it's that age group it's tough to.
Well, because, okay, so 13.
Little prediction and projection around what we do with our jobs, right? We're not always right, to be honest with you.
No, you're not. But 13U, I mean, that's like, I think development wise comparatively to the US, and that's kind of where we have to be in baseball in Canada, is 13U kids have their eyes set on playing high school football.
Sure.
So in order to do that, they have to get in the weight room early.
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are on BC, but it's like weights are just an option out here. Everybody's skinny. Everybody's tiny. When I started the CCBC program out here, it was introducing college freshmen like I would introduce high school freshmen to weights. So it's a completely different landscape here. And I'm stoked to hear that that's top of mind for you guys.
Has to be. I mean, it's 3 days a week for us. I mean, so any given practice, they're with us for 3 hours. They'll lift for an hour, they'll hit for an hour, and they'll do defense for an hour. And our pitchers will go Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. And it's the same, very, very similar, right? So that is definitely at the top of our priority list for sure.
You guys, and the way you're talking right now, the kind of players you're looking for, you say, do you guys, 13U, etc., are you guys recruiting players? Are you guys like trying? Is there a tryout? You have a certain.
Yeah.
For what I'm gauging here is OBJ program. You guys want to run a certain way. You get to pick who you want, and your goal is to create the best player possible.
Yeah. Retention is very good. Obviously, we have 120 some players right now going into next fall. I think we're getting rid of maybe 12 to 15, unfortunately, which is tough conversations to be had halfway through the season. we do host tryouts. I mean, we had over 200 kids try out this summer.
Cool.
But at the same time, some are house league players, which is fine.
Yeah.
Also have a lot of kids that.
There's some sneaky ones in there sometimes.
Yeah, no, you find the odd diamond in the rough, right? For sure.
Yeah.
We're at the point now where we're really just kind of looking to add pieces to our rosters throughout the end of the calendar year in terms of the season. But retention's been really good, man. Like really, really good. I want it that way, So
who else is out east? Who else is doing this? Like what else? What's your competition out there?
There's some really good programs out here for sure. There are different locations. Obviously, get GLC. That's Adam Stern and Chris Robinson out in the London area. You got the Mets. It kind of comes in waves. Like this year, Team Ontario, the Astros, they got a really, really good 16U team, right?
Okay.
Were they that good last year? No, they weren't, right? So, at the end of the day, some of the programs do a better job keeping their guys long term. There's a lot of kids that look to transfer to us a little bit later in their grade 11, 12 year. I think it's because we do a really good job in terms of the college placement piece and the visibility piece, right? So you'll find a lot of kids that might stay with another program in grade 9, 10, and then all of a sudden they want to jump to us for whatever reason, right? And that's not always the case, but that seems to be the trend since I've been here the past 4 years.
And with that, you're good with that? You're good with bringing guys on, that guys who want to just come over?
Yes and no. I think, like I said earlier,
I asked that because here it's like people are just jumping around, especially in Victoria. They're like, "Well, I feel like playing for this team this year. Well, I'm going to go try out for this team this year." There's not a lot of
there's no loyalty anywhere.
Well, anymore. I get loyalty. You have to be loyal to yourself as well. You have to do what's best for your own career. But there's also some trust in the process as well.
I don't think there's enough coaches that are willing to look in the mirror and say, I need to do a better job. Right. At the end, players are, if the players are leaving, then it's ultimately your fault. Right. So figure it out.
There's not a lot of accountability with a lot. There's no consequence for majority of coaches. It's like, okay, well, I guess we'll just be average again. And that's cool.
No, I don't like kids coming in and taking spots away from players that have worked their ass off for, 2 or 3 years with us. With that said, there's obviously, pieces, especially arms. Like there's never enough pitching to go around, to be honest with you. So if a big arm kind of lands in our lap, then obviously we're going to definitely entertain.
Of course.
For sure. So I
think that's a good, a good taste for a lot of these kids too, for the reality of college and pro and any kind of baseball. It's like, it doesn't matter how long you've been with us. If a good arm comes in the mix and you're the worst arm, smell you later, right?
The next day. Yeah. Right or wrong, that's the reality of their situation moving forward, right?
You guys, probably, I know your answer to this. It'll be a combination of both, but winning or development?
It's a byproduct, I think. I think winning is important. That's the only thing that matters at the next level, right? And that's what we try and preach to these kids, because right now we're living in a world where they're chasing numbers and metrics. And, those college coaches at the end of the day, they got to put food on the table for their families, and they got to win, right? If you can't help that team win, then you mean nothing to them, quite frankly, right? So, we take a lot of pride in winning. It's a part of development, but at the same time, like we're not gonna blow guys out for 125 pitches early in spring or any time for that matter, just to win a baseball game, if that's what you're asking me, right? Like we see that.
No, absolutely. It's just, you wonder, I just see, some programs run out the same 9 all day, and kind of like, what are we doing here? Like, I do understand winning is something that kids need to learn how to do.
Sure. No, I think for us, like we tell our parents that, throughout the course of the season, it's going to be relatively equal for the most part. But as we get in tournament play, deeper in tournaments, playoffs, obviously the bench is going to shorten a little bit, right? That's kind of our direction that we go. So
there's always injuries. That's where you get your opportunity as a bench player, and all of a sudden you turn into a starter real quick. Can you kind of see why Ontario has been so dominant for so long in baseball now, being out there?
100%. Like I've been on both sides now, and I know that when I was out west, people would always kind of bitch about, why don't we have only so many players playing on the national team, right? And then I came out here, it was like, holy shit, there is a ton of players out here, a lot of unseen tap talent that guys don't even know about. Yeah, it's a different world out here for sure. I say that respectfully because there's tons of good players out west, right? But it's different out here for sure. It is. Yeah.
What's the difference? It's just more. Is there,
Well, obviously population first and foremost, right? There are more teams that say they're elite when really they're not. Like that's a problem for sure. Obviously.
The old high performance fucking thing.
Exactly. Yeah. But just taken back by, back home right now, you see an arm that's 85 to 90. You're thinking, but sorry, when I say back home out west, you see an arm that's 85 to 90. It's like, okay, he's pretty good in the Premier League. Out here, like there's 88 to 92 everywhere you go. Like there's a lot of arms like that, right? You know, I don't know what it is. I can't, because people ask me this question all the time, like what's happened out in BC, and I look back to the Adam Blowen days. Like I was in grade 10 facing Adam Blowen that year, and I just remember how good the baseball was. Every arm you saw was coming at you.
Totally.
BC's a lot of players in the academies out in Alberta. There's been a lot of players that have gone that route. Whether that's hurt the league, I don't know. I'm not boots on the ground there, so I don't really know. But you hear different things, right?
Are you getting? I mean, Okotoks is killing it always, right? Are players from Ontario heading to Okotoks at all, or Vauxhall, or anything like that? No,
Ontario players don't typically leave. You've seen a lot of Montreal kids in Montreal that have gone to Okotoks.
Okay,
I don't know what the connection is there. ABC is doing a much better job now in Montreal.
Good.
Kind of figured it out. I don't think they're going to be losing too many players, but it's usually BC to Alberta, and Ontario kids, quite frankly, they either stay or they're looking to go to the US and play in the that new Academy series down there with TNXL and those other places.
What are your thoughts on? Do you guys have guys reclass there? Like if
ever since COVID, it's been a nightmare.
I fucking hate reclassing. It's I don't know. It's not. I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, that's why I started the collegiate program in Victoria. Sure. It's like, okay, no, you got to get out of high school ball because you're going to be playing with 15-year-olds and you're 18.
I don't disagree with you, Kurt. I think there's I look back at the COVID year, our 24 class, a lot of them did reclass, and from a Division I standpoint, very talented group. Probably, I'm never going to have a group like that in terms of the schools that they sign with, probably ever again moving forward. I think that extra year did help that group. At the same time, I think if you're going to take a gap year, like you said, like if your program can't put together a schedule that makes sense with quality competition, like get the hell out and go play a year in the CCBC or wherever it might be, right? Like, go be challenged.
There's some badass post-grad programs now, though.
There are. No, for sure there are. Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's a bad option. Like going and actually playing post-grad. Like there's some places in Texas. I got a guy from Minnesota who runs a post-grad program coming on the podcast soon. Have you ever seen guys doing that?
I mean, we went through a little bit of it. Our 17U group that I'm talking about there in the 24 class, a couple of them went down and played for TNXL and, Pro 5 and let's see, P27. And that was them. Just wanted to be.
Imagine if all this stuff was around when we played. Like I know I'm a little bit older than you, but it's still you're old enough to be crazy. Okay, well it's Premier, then national team and Team BC, and then that's kind of it.
There's too many options, and it's a problem. I mean, there's too many options, and there's too many people in this world that are just out there to tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, no kidding. You've done this a few times. You're really good at just being calm and
it's true. Like
I know.
An example though, Kurt, is like I'll sit down with a family, or Mike Steed, our college placement guy, will sit down with a family and be like, here's where your son's at. This is where I think he should be. Here's a list of schools. They nod their heads, and then next week they're signing on with a college advisor. And they're going to pay this guy $3,000 to go and find him a school. Where it's like, so that's my biggest frustration, I think, with this landscape right now is that. So,
well, and they promise the world based on nothing. You can make a website and put a bunch of fucking fake names up there and all kinds.
And they ask for our videos. They ask for our videos.
Oh man, that's so funny. That's so funny. Well, I mean, here. What I've done, I've created this Mindset U program. It's not just mental performance. It's also, realistic expectations when it comes to recruiting. It's like, okay, let's figure out where you are, because if you go through the list of goals of everybody I have here, it's A&M, Vanderbilt, fucking. It's like, okay, cool. Like that's awesome, man. Shoot for the stars. But I don't think you know what that actually even means. You don't have any idea what that means. I talked
You go to Google, top 25 schools. Here you go, Kurt.
Totally. Let me randomly pick 3. I talked to my old coach was Tim Tadlock, who's at Texas Tech, right? And I stay in touch with him. We talked to him. I got one guy out here who he's like, yeah, okay, I like that. That's nice, but that's it. And even so, he's like, man, he's probably send him through JUCO and we'll pick him up there.
They got plenty of those guys in their backyard for half the price,
for half the price, exactly. And that's buddy Dusty Hart, who's down at Blinn now, who just won a national championship. Basically, just said we got hundreds of him falling out of trees here in every county.
Yeah.
And and these are the things, when I do this podcast and when we talk, I want to reinforce, it doesn't matter where you are. And, out east, like we're talking about Vancouver Island here, what kids are like, okay, well, I play for the Mariners, so I'm going to fucking do this. It's like, well, hold on a sec here, pal.
Yeah.
Canada's pretty big. You know how big the rest of North America is. So, recruiting wise, you guys have built up a good network. Are kids being seen when you guys schedule your tournaments? Obviously, you said you have a pretty cool, like you guys have a badass schedule.
Yeah,
wicked tournaments. And tell me about the last tournament you were in Boston.
Yeah, it was about 140 teams, and I mean, it was kind of wild how it's set up because we had 2 17U teams that went down and ended up playing each other in the finals.
That's sick.
But I look at tournaments from the visibility piece, right? Obviously, competition has to be good, but this past tournament in Boston, there was about 90 schools, and for us, like we wanted to go a route this year where when a kid comes in from grade 9 to 12, like we touch on every geographic location we potentially can to get in front of as many schools as possible. So we went to Indiana for the first time this year, down at Grand Park, 160 schools down there floating around. Amazing, right?
Yeah.
Went to Boston, saw a lot more Ivy League schools, which we never get a chance to play in front of.
Cool.
Some D3s, some D2s, JUCOs, whatever it might be. So from that standpoint, summer events are really about, getting seen as much as possible. And then obviously our college fall trip, which is pretty special. I got a really good schedule for this fall as well.
What does that look like?
We're going.
I saw you just posted something.
Yeah, we got, I think, 12 D1 schools on the agenda, the docket. Just basically kind of bounce around school to school, BP every day, 9 to 15 innings a day, and we'll take a roster of 36 guys. And
cool.
A lot of people think at the end of the day, not all those kids are going to go to schools like that, but for us, it's like just see what the other side looks like. You tell me you want to be a Division I baseball player. Well, okay, you play third base. Look at that third baseman and tell me, do you look like him? You know what I mean, right? So
you guys hit JUCOs along the way as well.
Yeah, we did a big JUCO swing last year. This year, I think we only got a couple on the schedule. Some people look at our schedule and be like, "Are those kids really going to play at those schools?" And for us, it's more than that. Like we're content in saying that I think we can pick up the phone and call any school and have an honest discussion with a college coach about our guys, and they'll listen.
But what people don't realize though too is that you can be a Division I coach and be out there and see some guys, and all these Division I coaches either were junior college coaches or played with junior college coaches, and they'll go, "Hey, Coach Johnny."
There we go again.
I got a guy here you're gonna love, man. You got to call this kid because I'm gonna want him in 2 years from you, or I need him to develop a year under you, and then I'll want him. Right there. I mean, better than anybody. Coaches are looking 2, 3, 4 years ahead. We're always looking. So, it's like we first talked about. Everybody's poo-pooing on JUCO because it ain't cool, because it doesn't look cool. But
the academic
piece, you went to JUCO. I mean, better than anybody. You went to Vernon. Good Lord. Talk about a fucking humbling experience. I went to Grayson. It's the best years of my life.
For sure. And I think anybody that went to JUCO would openly and honestly say exactly what you're saying, right? The best time of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, you're sharing 5 helmets. You got to buy your own tape from Walmart. It's like, okay, Vans, paper bags with a little bit of lunch in it, and good luck with your hamstring cramp in the van. Good luck.
Enjoy your Subway and your pizzeria on Sundays. That's about all. Yeah.
Totally, man. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'll try to keep this between 30, 45 minutes, but obviously with being a mental performance coach, I love talking about that. And you guys have quite the operation there. What are you guys doing on the mental performance side, the mindset side at OBJ?
Yeah. So when I first got out there, it was something that we didn't really dive into they haven't dove into all that much. And I think through COVID, there was a lot of kids that were really struggling during that time. Right. So that's kind of what spearheaded that project. I worked with a local guy named Ronan Burney out in Abbotsford that worked at Yale High School Academy when I was there, and he did some online stuff. He actually flew out and worked with our group 2 years ago. So the kids have access to him as they see fit. It is definitely one area though that I think we can do a better job of in terms of making it a little bit more consistent in our week to week practices. It's just not something that we've dove into all that much. It's easy for guys to just say, hey, we'll go reach out to Curtis Pelletier, right? But in terms of having an in-house guy that we have to pay like full time, like I would love to do, it's hard, right? So not to say that we deflect and don't think it's important. It's just an area that we could be better as an organization. For sure.
I think it's growing. I mean, you look at, I talked to some guys, University of Minnesota, and they're just getting this going. That big, the SEC schools have in-house guys. They have Doe. They have all this stuff, but it's not 100% on the development list right now, right? But yeah, it's cool. I think what's that?
It needs to be though, right? Like it's especially the game of baseball. I mean, shit.
Yeah. Oh, totally, man. I mean, I'm just seeing it more and more and more. It's the off-field stuff to me. It's the habit building that just shows. On field, in between games, being idiots in hotels, all that kind of stuff, right? That's all of it.
There's really no secret sauce, man. Like,
no,
you put your nose down, do the boring shit over and over and over again.
It's every Instagram post you see is exactly true. It's like, just shut the fuck up and do your work, right? But it's hard to do that now with kids and how distracted they are, right?
It's everywhere you go.
So Mindset they have to. So there's a checklist. One of them is post their screen time. We have a big Slack group, so they have to post their screen time publicly every night.
Very cool. What would you say the averages that you're seeing in terms
3 hours?
3.
About 3 hours. About an hour to an hour 20 is on Snapchat.
And those are teenagers we're talking here. Or is that college?
Yeah, and that's fine. And like I said, I could tell them, like, it's fine, it's cool.
Yeah.
But you got your work done, so that's all good. You do what you want. You checked every other box, so you're fine. But when I see their screen time and I see they're not getting their other stuff done, like their forms or assignments I have, then we got to question it. And I have all the parents that are in the Slack group as well. The parents are like, whoa, I didn't know my kid's lying to me, man. And I'm like, full transparency here. We need to be a full unit. We need to be a full team if you're going to move forward and be successful here. There can't be any gaps. There can't be any lies. There can't be anything. Right. So
what kind of athletes do you have? A lot of like Mariner and Eagle type players or college guys?
Really, man. I got, what do I got Victoria wise here? A couple Mariners. Yeah. I got kids. I got North Carolina, Boston, New York, Vancouver, Saskatchewan. Yeah, all over the place, dude. All over the place. It's, anybody in Victoria is listening,
Jump on.
Jump on, but I don't know. I don't know if you have the fucking habits right now to do this because of how it's been run here, and that's not a dig at anybody. That's just the reality of it.
Sure.
You know that. So, what's the biggest? So let's kind of end on something like this. Biggest gap, and I think you probably answered it already. The biggest gap between development in Canada versus US.
Canada. I mean, I'm going to speak on behalf of where I am currently out east, and that's field time. Like it's
field time.
Field time.
Yeah,
for sure. Like we don't spend nearly enough time. I think out west. I mean, like I said earlier, everybody's got their own fields, and I remember being an Abbotsford taking BP in January on field one year.
Totally.
Right? You know, all these kids out here where we are kind of all drilled up, and just lack of feel when they step on a diamond. I mean, shit, some of our guys don't even know how to put a turtle out and set it up and put the bases out and tamp a mount, right? Because they're not exposed to any of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
As funny as that sounds, it's the truth, right? So I think field time for sure is the biggest component. I think obviously they play a little bit more down there, right or wrong. I think.
Yeah.
For me,
well, and I think it. You could compare Minnesota to Arizona, right? You're going to see a big gap, right?
But I think being multi-sport athletes and not, at the end of the day, I think the athletes are the guys that go places. And what I mean by that is early on, 13, 14, 15, we still have some kids that play, hockey or basketball, whatever it might be. I think they do need to narrow their focus, obviously, as they get a little bit older. But it's usually the kids that are athletes that end up going places, quite frankly, right?
Do you have kids that try to, or they're multi-sport kids in your programs?
Program? We do, especially at the younger ages. We had a kid that was going to be an OHL, hockey player that chose baseball. There's a few different scenarios like that, but it's primarily one sport when it's 16, 17, 18 with us.
Yeah. Awesome. So. Who's oh, sorry. I know I just said we're going to wrap this up, but we're not. Hold on a sec. The draft. How was the draft for you guys?
It was an interesting draft. I went into it thinking that there's going to be maybe less than 10 Canadians, in all honesty, that went, like talking to some of the local area guys. So to see a few names pop, which was exciting for baseball in Canada, I thought was good. I think we ended up at 16 and a couple free agents that went yesterday. Speaking on behalf,
it was awesome. I'm really excited about the names, the people.
For sure.
The kids out here who have gone the long route, who have, grinding JUCO, sure. D1. I mean, you're not seeing any high school kids out of Canada go anymore. It's just the reality of it.
No, we had like our one guy, Lawson, who was projected to go, one of the first Canadians to go, and he had a deal in the second round with, I'm not going to give you too much detail, but he passed on a significant amount of money in the second round and ended up going in the 19th to St. Louis, and only because St. Louis took him, basically because if they can't sign their first or second rounders, there might be some more money for him. But he's going to Florida and he's got some NIL money and he's content and happy. And people look at, why didn't he get drafted earlier? Well, he did have an opportunity and he chose not to sign, and that's his discretion, right? So but yeah, we had. I'll leave you with this. We had a pretty good class in the 24 class, and Brandon Lawson was a part of that. We also had Matt Brown and a few other big arms in that 24 class that ended up going to the States for their post-grad year.
Yeah.
And these guys were like big-time arms with a big-time following, national team kids, and all the area guys were in on them. And I hate to say it, and I feel sorry for these kids, but they went down there and they got lost. Lost. Right? Well, you go down and you start new area guys that don't have really anything on these guys. You kind of start over a little bit, right? They can go into the system and there's reports on these guys, but there was a following up here, right? And it just goes to show you that sometimes the grass isn't always greener. And
that as an ex-area guy too, right?
Sure.
It's like you kind of. I remember that with Dom Hambly. Here it's like, look at it. Wow, you kind of get. You build this relationship with them in a sense where it's like you want to see them go.
Yeah, for sure. And not all the Canadian area guys I'll go into the States and follow these guys. Like I know the Jays scout ended up going down and they gave him access to go in the States and follow these Canadian players, but it's not like that with every other club.
Is that Jay Lapp? Is he still a guy?
Jay's kicking around.
He was national team pitching coach when I was on the team.
That goes back. He actually tried to recruit me to Thompson River back in the day when he was up there coaching.
Really?
Yeah. He lives out in the London area. We see him from time to time. He's scaled back a little bit, but he's definitely still with the Jays. So But anyway,
Are you getting involved? Any national team stuff or anything like that?
I'd love to do it again. I'm sure I'll hopefully get an opportunity to do it. I had a pretty good run at a young age with Greg, so he's got a lot of great alumni that are back doing that type of stuff. Yeah. But maybe when the kids get a little bit older, I'll have an opportunity to get back and do it again, because that really was the best time of my life traveling around the world and doing that stuff. So.
What about Canada Cup? Are you guys like? How does it work out there? Is it just free for all? Anybody like again, I know how it works here. I don't know how it works there.
Yeah, it's there's teams that support and teams that don't, right? And I'll leave it at that, right? Like there's
You're leaving a lot of things at that. I love it.
There's some players that should be on that team that aren't, that simply just don't go to the tryouts for whatever reason. Like I look at the Canada Cup now it was nice to see a few more schools attend last year from afar, from what I was told. Like there was at least 10 to 12 schools that attended. But if you're going to call it a national championship, like you want the best players and the best programs.
So it's not like it was.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Not in my opinion anyway.
Yeah.
BC typically sends their best players, but I'm hearing otherwise this year. You get area codes, you got different things that are popping up, right? That's a whole other topic of conversation, like futures games with PBR and all this. Right?
I mean, you got to put yourself in the player's shoes too. Like if I had an opportunity to go to Codes or Canada Cup, it's like, okay, well, where is everybody? 100%. That's basically what I want to know. What's better for my future here?
For sure. Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, Cor, thanks for taking the time, dude. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, man.
And let's stay in touch.
Take care of yourself.
I'm just going to keep you on for a second until this is finished uploading, okay?